Good afternoon, Chief Justice. And
Are you well?
I'm well, thank you very much.
Are you relaxed or should I relax you?
Well, I'm not relaxed.
Yeah, that's honesty. Let's take it easy. What was your first master's degree on?
That was international law.
Was it a straight thesis or with coursework?
No, it was coursework.
What about the second? Oh, coursework.
Second one was also coursework.
Coursework. And what was the thesis in each?
Well, the first one, the thesis was about the common heritage of mankind.
Just put the mic closer. It was
I've written a thesis about the common heritage of mankind.
and the second?
And the second thesis, I wrote a thesis on the responsibility of banks as money lenders for damage to the environment.
The first doctorate?
That was also in international law, law of the sea. That was dispute settlement in terms of the law of the sea convention.
And the second?
The second one was private law. That was the nature of group life insurance in South Africa.
Yes. And what leadership roles have you fulfilled
Well, I
in life, apart from being a father?
Well, I started in the Department of Justice as a junior clerk, and in 1977, when I was transferred to Ishawe, I was the control officer, and that is now, I think, the acting assistant magistrate at Ishawe.
How many people were under you?
Well, we also had the regional court with us, probably between 8 and 10.
Yes. And what other leadership role have you fulfilled or played?
Well, when I was transferred to the regional court as a regional court prosecutor, in fact, I moved just officers from the one side of the building to the other side of the building to occupy the regional court position. We were two then, and we had one regional court magistrate. And of course, we organized our own roles because we were detached to Durban, but we were stationed at Ishawe, and we did the whole of Zululand.
Yes.
The northern part, in any event, up to the border with Swaziland.
Yes.
So we organized our own roles and so forth. So we were actually on our own at the time.
Yes. And have you accumulated some leadership experience that you want to share with us in any area of life?
Well, apart from the thing is, when you a civil servant, I try to not to be engaged in anything else apart from what I was doing.
Yes.
So I didn't engage into all sorts of activities outside my work, really. Only activity that I actually participated in was I played golf.
Yes.
But apart from that, I was a student.
Yes. Very well. And now, in your own words, what makes you the right person for the position of Deputy Judge President of Limpopo? And what is your vision that you hope to implement if you were to be appointed to that position? Just in your own words, articulate it as appropriately as you would want to. I won't interrupt you.
Chief Justice, I would think, first of all, and that was my view from the time I was appointed, is that I tried to achieve that Limpopo division should be a division of excellence, first of all. And in doing that, of course, one has to play a role in the sense that you need to finalize matters as quickly as possible and as well as possible. And I don't think one should try to reinvent the wheel, really, but one can modify the wheel in the sense that to achieve that, I think one must look at modernizing the court and the system as it is to make not only the courts more accessible, but also more quicker and streamlined. And the difficulty, of course, I think, is with lying really with criminal matters, to see how one can deal with that more sufficiently and efficiently. And achieving that, obviously, one has to assist the judge president in achieving that goal. And I think over the past 3 years, we did actually very well in that division. We delivered judgments on time, and I don't think there's too much of a backlog with matters that's outstanding there.
Have you finished?
Yes, thank you.
All right. You've been a judge for about 3 years, 3 months, am I right?
Yes, from July 2016.
Yes. Very well. JP?
Thank you, Chief Justice. I do not have any question. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Mr. Singh?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Judge Muller.
Good afternoon.
Let me start by saying that this is quite an impressive CV that I see before me.
Thank you.
I see you have no reserved judgments. There's just one part heard matter, which was set down for the 29th July to the 2nd of August. I see you also made some appearances in the Constitutional Court. With regard to the part heard matter, is that still part heard or is it finished?
That matter, I think, is finalized. There's another criminal parted matter that I will hear argument on I think, in the middle of October.
Okay. In response to your question by the Chief Justice regarding your first reply, you said that the court should be modernized and should be quicker and streamlined. I've been to the court. It's a brand new court. It's a very modern court. So I'm not sure if you're talking about the building and access or the systems and processes within the court.
No, I'm not talking about the building. I'm talking about the processes. I think if I'm talking about streamlined is that we adopted the judicial pretrial system where each judge once a month do 50 matters to see whether it's trial ready. I'm talking about streamlining it in that sense and to make so when the case is ready for trial, it may only be set down then so that the matter can be finalized.
Okay, have you taken your thoughts to the JP?
Well, we're working on that. We're busy implementing that.
Okay. I'm going to put to you what the Black Lawyers Association wrote in their submission to the JSC. The Chief Justice already dealt with a period of 3 years, and they are of the view that there is not sufficient experience. Do you feel that you have enough experience to be a Deputy Judge President?
Well, I don't think one must only look at the 3.5 years that I've been appointed. I think one must look a little broader than that as well. I've been involved in the law since 1972, not only as a clerk, but as a magistrate and as a prosecutor and the rest of it. So I don't think one must look at it only in terms of 3.5 years, because there's a lot of background that goes in with that as well.
Well, okay, thank you. And then lastly, the position of Deputy Judge President would be to groom a person ultimately to take the position of Judge President. You'll be 66 years old. How do you see that fit into a succession plan?
Well, I'm appointed until the 29th of September 2028. So there's still 9 years left. I don't know how long the Judge President will be there. He might be there until I retire one day, so I don't know. Knowing him, he might be there. But I can't change my age. That unfortunately is a fact of life. But I still think there's 9 years left for me to be in this leadership position.
Okay, thank you, Judge. One last question, Chief Justice. The general thread from the responses received from some of the societies that communicates with the JSC regarding appointments is that your appointment will not necessarily promote transformation. Do you have something to say about that?
Yes, I saw that. That's also something that I can't really say anything about. If transformation is a fact and that must occur, but I'm here for myself. And if I don't fit into the transformation scheme, then I can't do anything about that.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh. Commissioner Msomi.
Thank you, CJ. Judge Muller, what interests you about this position? Why have you raised your hand? Why have you availed yourself? What is it that you want to achieve?
Well, I've been there since almost the inception of the division, and I think I play an important role there. And I think that in view of that, I thought that I can be an asset to the division and to everybody else there. And that's why I decided to apply.
Assuming that you were appointed, what will be your first 5 priorities there? What is it that needs fixing in Limpopo that would form part of your priority list?
Well, I think from my perspective is that the Deputy Judge President must play a bigger role in the local division at Thohoyandou, and that judges should perhaps from Limpopo go to Thohoyandou from time to time and sit there for a month, and vice versa. And that is something that that needs to be discussed with the Judge President for that matter. I think that as far as the relationship between judges are concerned, I think that's sound. I don't think there's any difficulties there. And I think the question is, of course, organizing the roles and make sure that cases are dealt with as swiftly as possible and finalized.
Chief Justice, can we go as far as there's no limit today?
There is, but you can be indulged if necessary.
There's been an introduction of Rule 37A, and it's intended basically to bring parties together so that there is an expeditious resolution of disputes. Some of the critics are saying, and I want your comment on this, that what the Rule 37A does is to conflate what we call the adversarial role vis-a-vis the inquisitorial role in the adjudication of disputes. In other words, judges are beginning to descend into the arena of adjudication instead of staying out of it. What do you make of that criticism?
Well, I think one has to be very, very careful when you deal with matters like this. But in my view, most matters, if I'm not talking about commercial matters, but the other matters that one deals with normally has a bit of a history. And it's sometimes very important, I think, for a judicial officer to understand, first of all, what are the real disputes. Because the disputes that one finds on papers not always tell you exactly what is the difficulty. And sometimes just to talk to the parties, and I allow them in court sometimes to go wider than the papers, just to get the background, to understand what, especially when it comes to customary type of things. I'm not well versed in that, because one has to understand the custom first of all and understand what you're busy with. I allow people to go wider sometimes just to get the gist of it. And then sometimes, and I've indicated some of them already, that I think matters of this nature can be resolved through mediation. Some of them said they would do it. I don't know whether that has happened. But one has to be very careful that when you're in the initial stages, not to probe too deeply that it appears that you're taking sides before you're actually adjudicating the matter.
Last one question from me. Have you been following the public opinions of our Chief Justice on a number of matters?
I can't recall that I specifically followed anything.
Thank you so much.
I think he wants to know whether you saw some tweets saying the children must come to me to watch them.
Chief Justice, let me perhaps take the question
Uh,
I wanted to ask him. There is an article that appeared in the Sunday Times yesterday. It was penned by a gentleman called Banim Tomboti.
I saw that.
You saw that. Is that a fair criticism of our Chief Justice, or he was talking absolute nonsense? What's your take?
I don't know what he was referring to.
If I were you, I would pass, Mr. Miller. That one is best dealt with by me, and I've been dealing with it. Minister?
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Judge Miller.
Good afternoon, Minister.
I see you were born in Nelspruit. And I look at your CV in terms of the universities that you have attended. Is there any particular reason why you went to all these universities? And for example, I see you have well traveled also. You have been in KZN, Limpopo, and so forth. But you have not, in any of these degrees, LLM, junior degree, the LLD, none of them you have done them in what we call the historical black universities, like University of Zululand,
Well,
University of
Minister,
Limpopo.
I found a professor at the University of Zululand simply because I lived very close to the University of Zululand at one stage. And a friend of mine who was a magistrate in Pinetown, was later killed, studied at University of Zululand. But he informed me that I can't do the LLD there, simply because I didn't have, I understood from him, a professor who has a doctorate in law of the sea to assist me. And I therefore turned to, I don't want to entertain you with how it happened, but I just one day decided I'm going to do an LLM while I was doing an arbitration in Johannesburg. And I drove to Rau then, and I applied, and they told me there's a new professor that is in international law, and I applied, and I started to study again, and I enjoyed it so much that I didn't stop.
Okay, you might be surprised why I'm asking you this question, but it's related to the second question, because I just want to understand from your side whether you think that for us as these commissioners, will it advance transformation to appoint yourself, particularly as a white male, for this position which you are aware it was held by a black female who has now left to another court? What is your view with that regard? Will that advance where we're going in terms of transformation?
I did not give transformation so much thought really about that to when I applied to decide whether because Judge Mkhloa left that position only be filled by a black female or a black male, whoever. I applied because I'm part of that court.
No further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Norman.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon,
afternoon.
Judge Muller. What do you mean, or what did you mean when you responded that when you were asked and when one of the law bodies were not supporting, were saying that they would not support you based on transformation issues, and you said, look, I'm here for myself, and if they say I don't fit it well, I don't know. What do you mean when you say you are here for yourself?
Well, I applied. That's what I mean. I applied, and I didn't give too much thought about transformation. Because if that was the position, I most probably would have thought differently about it. I didn't apply because I think I might not get it because of transformation. I applied because I think that I'm worthy of the position. And that's the only reason why I said I applied for myself.
What is your understanding of transformation? What is transformation?
Well, the transformation surely is to transform the bench, and I think it is and to appoint specifically in the transformation setup. First of all, I understand it, black females, then white females, then black men, and then white men. But I didn't think about that when I applied specifically, whether that is going to be applicable or not.
It's a big what?
Whether it's going to be applicable or not. I understand that it is a question that that you will consider. But the point is, I'm part of that court, and I'm very proud to be part of that court, and I applied.
Can I just find out one other matter that is reflected in your interview, your last interview when you became a judge? You gave an answer. It is contained in the law body's feedback. I would like to direct you to page... This is not, the numbering is not sequential, but there is a divider that is marked transcript. Sorry. It will have your name, Judge, and then thereafter you'll have comments from all the law bodies, and then there will be, the last one will be transcript. Okay, if you may
Sorry,
just...
I can't find it here.
You cannot, okay, could somebody assist, please? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. Could you please turn, there is a page number on the right-hand corner, and that would be page 971.
Yes.
I'm still following up on my question on transformation, Chief Justice. Thank you. There is a question that was put to you by Counsel Motimele, Commissioner Motimele, and he asked, if you were to be appointed to Limpopo High Court being white male Afrikaner, and having in mind that the constitution of the court is a number of 7 judges, 6 male Africans, 1 female African, how do you think your appointment will contribute to transformation and or diversity of that court? This is your answer. You said, well, I think as far as transformation is concerned, the appointment of one white male will probably not rock the boat to any extent. At the end of the day, you have to do a specific job, and whether you're white or not does not change that. The court, obviously, I think, has to have a diversity of people, and me being there will fulfill that. Apart from that, Limpopo has large rural areas where there's Afrikaners, farmers, and so on. And obviously, when you do cases there, that will also facilitate the process if you're Africans and the witnesses are Africans. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, what I want to understand then is that question about transformation was asked when you made yourself available as a judge. I just want to understand at what point then did you think of transformation when you applied for this position?
Well, the situation is transformation is a fact, and so it's not a question that I totally ignored it. I applied because I'm part of that court, and I think that I made a contribution so far, and I think I can make a contribution in future. That is the reason why I applied.
And if you were to look at what were the matters, other than you being part of the court, what other considerations did you have regard to when you made the application?
Well, the situation is simply this, that as far as the post is concerned, I think I can play a role in that post. And that is the consideration that I have.
I'm not, that is bringing in your expertise onto the court.
Yes, apart from, yes, bringing your expertise into, as part of your total get-up, if I can call it that,
Yes.
as a judge.
Now, please correct me, Judge. I don't know if you go back to your bundle. I'm not sure that you made a mistake here or what. There's two cases that you attached, and both cases, they have same counsel, and they are dated the same date. I'll first refer you to page 28. That is the bundle that has got your application.
Sorry, I can't find my application here.
Maybe you could just read it out so
Oh,
that
sorry,
we save some
sorry.
time.
Yes, thank you, Chief Justice. These are two cases. The one case, I'll just give you the one case. It's between Riley Mposi and Theophilus Mposi. I believe this was a customary law marriage that had to do with civil marriages. But then counsel in that matter, according to the last page, you had for the plaintiff, M. City Clerk, for the defendant, M. Haskins SC, and the date of the hearing, 20 November 2018. But then there is no date as to when you delivered judgment in that matter.
Well, if that was duplicated, it was only one matter I can recall where Ms. de Klerk and Haskins appeared against one another.
Yes. No, I want to know when did you give judgment in that matter?
I think about 3 or 4 weeks after the argument.
Yes. And then you have another one also between the same parties, or you say the judgment is duplicated. Oh yeah, I see that. Okay. Thank you. And then lastly, now that then you had indicated that, look, by appointing me to the High Court as a judge, you would be assisting the white farmers will be able to speak Afrikaans, they'll have someone in that position. How did you then, now that you've been there for almost three years, how have you managed to advance and extend the work, your work as a judge, to other races, to other languages, or people speaking different languages within that province during your stay there?
Well, I must say that as far as the white farmers are concerned, I think as far as criminal work is concerned, I think I did one matter where a white Afrikaans farmer was involved in. The rest of the cases that I dealt with are from the local people. And that, I can't say that I advance anything, but the situation is simply this, that those matters are the matters that I deal with on a daily basis.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Dodovu.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Justice. Afternoon, Judge Muller.
Afternoon, Mr. Mklo.
Good. The first point, you made two profound statements in this interview. The first one being that you are here for yourself. That's what you said. And the second one is that you applied for this position because you are part of the court. How do you reconcile these two statements with the fact that you applied for a leadership position?
Well, the position is simply this. When you apply for a leadership position, you apply because you think you can do the work. So you apply for yourself in that sense. I'm not applying on behalf of somebody else. And I'm part of that court setup for the last 3.5 years, more or less. And I think that during that period of time, I've dealt with several matters, and I'm involved in the day-to-day running of the court in general as a sitting judge there. And that's why I say that I applied because I'm part of that court, is that I understand what is going on in that court, and that is why I applied. And I think I can play a leadership role in that sense.
Then will I be correct when I say you didn't apply because you want to provide leadership to the court?
Well, that is part of it. Because you want to supply leadership because I'm there and I think I can supply leadership to the court.
Leadership is about the people. It's about organizing people. It's about managing people. And I don't get a sense that, given your experience, you were once in such a situation to provide leadership, to manage people, and therefore ensure that the predetermined objectives are realized. In what way are you going to contribute in the realization of that objective if you are appointed in this position?
Well, there are different facets of how you're going to provide leadership, but you have to organize, obviously, with the judge president, where judges will be sitting and when they will be sitting, and organize the support staff as far as that goes with the registrar and your own clerk and clerks in general working in that department.
And in line with that approach, what do you think is going to be your contribution in making sure that the court is efficient, it is effective, and therefore becomes an instrument of delivery to the people of Limpopo?
Well, first of all, you're going to organize the cases and deal with them to make sure that the cases are ready for trial and make sure that the matter can proceed. And apart from that, of course, you have to deal with the support staff that assist the judges and the registrar to an extent, and that is, in my view, the main role that one has to play.
I heard you say you subscribe to the transformation of the judicial. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Now, the incumbent, a person who was occupying the same position you are applying for, was black and was a woman. In what way, if you are considered, you are going to see the advancement of transformation in that court?
Well, the mere fact that if I'm appointed, I'm just a judge, and from what we do, color doesn't matter at all. And the mere fact that it was a black judge, in my view, doesn't change that.
But in this country, color matters. It is important. The building block of this country is about color and racism. What do you mean? Explain to us, what do you mean when you say in the position that you are applying for and in the context of what I asked you earlier on, why color doesn't matter?
Well, if you're a sitting judge and you have to deal with the law, then color doesn't matter unless it is for some reason necessary. But otherwise, all you have to do is to apply the law.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Dodovu. I must say to commissioners, just as a way of alerting them, there are 8 of you waiting for an opportunity to put questions to him. Just to alert you, Commissioner Mpofu.
Okay, thank you, Chief Justice. Well, I don't think we need to ask many questions, but I'll just ask a quick one. Well, firstly, hello, Judge. Good afternoon. I'm also impressed by your CV, 2 doctorates and 2 masters. That's quite a feat. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to know, as the Minister said, you've also been around the provinces, KZN, Eastern Cape, Kokstad, Northwest, and so on. In your obvious appetite for education, has it ever occurred to you to learn one of the indigenous languages?
No, it never occurred to me to specifically go and study that.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm a bit confused about your views on transformation. So I'll ask it more bluntly. Yeah. You just said, okay, I didn't apply my mind to transformation or words to that effect when you applied, and I'm just a judge, and so on. So would you agree that in the context of the history of this country, if you and another candidate who's, let's say, a black female or even a black male of the same credentials, that if we were faced with that choice, we would have to appoint the other candidate and not you?
I don't have a problem with that. If this commission is of the opinion that the other candidate is the better candidate, then so be it.
Okay, maybe a different kind of follow-up. It's been said here that this is a leadership position. Now, one of the key areas in respect of which your leadership will be expected will be to transform that division. Now, if you don't think much of transformation or whatever you said, you didn't apply your mind to transformation, how can the JSC entrust you with a project of transforming that division? If you think a judge is just a judge and color doesn't matter, we must just kind of just do the work and forget about these things. Would you agree then that your appointment would not assist us in the transformation of the province?
One must understand when I applied, and I applied because I think I am, what I am, is the best person for that particular job. And if I talk about transformation in that sense, then I'm referring to myself. I'm not referring to the bench as in general, that the bench must be transformed. Surely that must happen. And if I have to play a role in the transformation of the bench or appointment of judges in that division, then surely transformation must play a role. But what I'm trying to convey is that when I applied as me, and I didn't then think that transformation should play a role, because if that was the case, I most probably would not have applied.
No. This is what I'm asking you. If a person with those kinds of beliefs that you have just articulated now is going to lead the division, can we entrust you with a situation where sometime in the future, as the leader of the division, there might arise a situation where there is a black female judge or advocate or whatever, and a white person with the same qualifications? The imperatives of our constitution as they are now are such that in that situation you would have to prefer the other candidate. But with the views that you have just espoused here, it's unlikely that you would do that, because your view is that it's just about qualifications or merit, and a judge is a judge, and so on.
No.
Can we entrust that if that situation ever arose in the next 10 years, you would have the capability or the disposition to do that which is probably uncomfortable to many people, but which must be done for the broader interests of the country?
No, the situation is simply this, is that if the scenario happened which you have now explained, surely the advancement of the lady advocate will be important, and one cannot only look then at the qualification and say, well, they have the same qualifications and that's the end of it. It can't be that easy.
All right, I'll give up on that one. Okay, and then you said that you did only one case involving white Afrikaner. The rest of the cases involved the local people. Don't you regard the white Afrikaners as local people as well?
No, they're local people, but I was just trying to.
Thank you, Chair Chief.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Advocate Mbofu. Commissioner Malema?
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon.
Let's close this thing. Do you support transformation?
Yes.
How do you support it?
Well, I support it in the sense that the appointment of judges and even the appointment of a deputy judge president should be in line with the transformation targets.
So when do you think about it? Because if you support it, you think about it throughout. You just said this morning, I didn't think about it. And then 2 minutes, I support it.
Well,
is it not supposed to be part of your DNA as a judge who preside over a society that is engaged in transformation? 2 minutes you think about it, 2 minutes you don't think about it. When do you think about it? When do you support it?
Well, the situation as far as transformation is concerned, dealing with myself. When I applied on my own behalf. I applied because I think I can do the job. If I didn't think about transformation in that sense,
Judge, here we are not looking for a judge necessarily. We are looking for a leader of judges. And at the center of that leadership is transformation. You go to an interview that is going to interview you and to check if you are suitable to be a leader of judges who can preside over, amongst other things, the transformation of the judiciary. You don't think about it.
Well, I didn't think specifically about it when I applied.
Now, as a judge, do you think that it will be incorrect for this JSC to appoint a person who will advance the transformation in that division?
Cannot be incorrect.
So we'll be on the right direction to appoint a person who will advance transformation in that division.
Yes.
Have you been to the Polokwane High Court? Do you stay in Polokwane?
Yes.
Have you been to Sheo?
I've been there once, yes.
Have you interacted with communities in Polokwane, in Limpopo? Have you been to Khorong? Have you been to some Dinaka where people gather to appreciate and understand their culture and the way of doing things? So that you don't preside over subject, but you preside over people. And they can only be people if you know their culture, if you know their traditions, and you have had that appreciation. Have you taken some time off to go and appreciate those people of Limpopo?
Well, I've traveled to specifically Jane first to go and see how it looks like. And I've traveled through small villages at the time, but I didn't stop and talk to people and engage with people at the time. But as I've indicated earlier on, in matters dealing with communities, I've asked council to address me on the background, to give me a background of the people and the customs so that I can understand it.
You drove past Genfest.
I went through it.
You drove past Genfest. You didn't stop, talk to people, attend the activities, interact with people there or anything of that sort?
No,
What are the 3 things quickly in Limpopo that if appointed the deputy judge president, you will immediately fix?
Well, first of all, the water crisis in the building. But that is just on the lighter note because there's always difficulty with water there. What I'll try to fix is, first of all, the backlog in the outstanding criminal cases, and then, of course, trying to deal with the outstanding and the many RIF matters that's on the roll. And I think that's about somewhere where one must start.
So there's only one thing, the cases, to speed up the criminal cases. That's a thing that gives you sleepless nights in Limpopo.
Well, that's what we're busy with every day.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nyambi.
Thank you, CJ. One question. Afternoon, Judgment.
Good afternoon.
To what extent are you satisfied with the transformation trajectory of the judiciary?
Are you speaking in general now? Or are you talking about Limpopo division?
No, I'm talking about the transformation of the judiciary, not necessarily Limpopo.
Well, I think it has gone a long way as far as the transformation is concerned. I think as far as women are concerned, there should be more women appointed.
Thank you, CJ.
Commissioner Masuku.
I think I have no questions for Judge Muller.
Have you been covered?
Well, yeah, I'm just disappointed with his answers on transformation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tlam.
Thank you very much, Judge President. Good afternoon, Judge Muller.
Good afternoon.
Your questionnaire, your 16 item, you made reference to cases that have made significant contribution. And also on 18 as well, you have highlighted those cases as having made contribution, plus your qualifications. So, following up on transformation, is it what you are telling this commission that your understanding of transformation is limited to race and numbers, not from the jurisprudence that comes from the court? And also with reference to jurisprudence, you were heavily criticized in that Komape case where the rights perspective was found lacking in the interpretation of the law. I hope you still remember that case of the child that died in a big toilet.
I remember that, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Your mic is off, Commissioner.
Okay. I'm just trying to get your opinion on the understanding whether, are you telling us that transformation is limited to race and numbers, and not from the jurisprudence as well that comes from the court? Because you say on 16, these are the cases that have made a significant contribution. As you say in paragraph 18, whilst on the other hand, you have the Komape case.
Well, the Komape case, I don't think there are various issues in the Komape case. And the other cases that I mentioned, that is the matter that went to the Constitutional Court eventually, is a matter
I'm sorry, Judge. I've just been alerted by the President of the SCA that the matter is pending in the SCA now, and we're just wondering whether it's appropriate to be discussing it.
Chief Justice, I'm aware of that. I, in fact, checked on Sunday to see whether the judgment is out, and it's not out yet, so it's still pending. And this might be a matter that might even go to the Constitutional Court.
Yeah,
so I don't really want to...
Should you not reserve your comments until later?
Yes, I'll rather reserve it at this particular time.
Yes.
I didn't...
Prof, I think you understand.
I just want to make one thing clear also. I didn't specifically attach that case to the cases that I referred to, specifically because the matter was pending in the appeal, Supreme Court of Appeal, and I knew that the appeal was heard on the 2nd of September.
Commissioner Kaba.
Thank you very much, CJ. Good day, Judge Muller. I note your education qualifications. I also note that you started working in the Department of Justice as way back as 1972, and that you became a state advocate in 1989, and then later joined the bar in 1991, where at you spent about 25 years.
Yes.
Yeah, as an advocate in the Pretoria bar. And then at the age of 63, you then became a judge. Now, my question is, given that you became a judge at the age of 63, was it ever part of your plan that, like career pathing, that one day you will aspire to become either a deputy judge president or judge president at some point, if you consider that you did not move into the judiciary much earlier in your life? Thanks.
No, I didn't.
The question, was it ever part of your plan that one day?
No, it was not part of my plan at the time when I became a judge.
Okay.
Commissioner Sigowa?
No, CJ, I'm covered. I wanted to talk about the same case.
Thank you. You are excused, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.